Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the first official episode of Off the Top. We are so glad you guys could join us or listen to us for today's podcast. Today's podcast might run a little short because some people decided to make plans over the plans we already had. So we're going to get on them a little bit later. But as you know, it is I, JKT, J Knows Tech, as always in the living flesh, and I am joined by my other two friends. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Well, friends is kind of a stretch. So,
is that how it is?
Yeah. But
okay.
You know me. It's your boy, Ken. King Ken, as he likes to call me.
Did you just say it's your boy?
It's your boy.
Don't say that again. Don't say that again.
Right. It's your boy, Ken. Got it.
Oh, my God.
And my name is Reed. What up, muchachos?
All right. Reed has decided to join us from the western side of things to join us on this podcast. We appreciate that.
Western side.
Yeah, the Wild West, he's a gunslinger. They're busy people, man. They're always doing stuff.
Frequent rodeos as well, apparently.
Yeah, rodeos and gunslinging. That's his name.
Look, every rodeo needs a clown, and we get it.
Oh my God.
I'm here to provide. We all have our lot in life, don't we, Ken?
Yeah, mine isn't that high up. Don't worry.
It's not. Nobody knows who you are, Ken. They only know you because I said who you were.
You're right. All those two viewers, they know us.
Oh, we're doing
anyway,
it like that.
Let us continue.
Okay, well, you know what?
For our adoring fans.
There's some salt being thrown right now. I don't appreciate that. I'm not even cooking. Anyway, so yes, Off the Top is a new series on the JKT channel. It's, of course, replacing Nerd Talk. For all you two viewers who did enjoy my podcast, this is a little bit different format. We are going to be talking about pretty much whatever comes to mind. It'll be raw, it'll be funny, and it'll tickle your bone. If it doesn't, we'll make Ken pay for it. So
I think that's illegal.
Well, don't tell nobody.
Okay, well, I guess I'll pretend we're not saying it on the internet where everything's free to view.
It's not on the internet at all. What are you talking about? What's the internet? Come on. But yeah. So decided to go ahead and switch it up. Figured this would be something good for all of us to enjoy and to have a good time on. Wanted to make it a little bit more relaxed for you guys watching and for us who do these. So sit back, grab some popcorn, grab some food, grab some alcohol, grab whatever you want.
Grab what you want. Don't say popcorn. That's not the only thing you need. Grab some ribs. You want to have some itis once we're done.
Yes, because the first thing we want them to do is fall asleep to our first official episode of this podcast. That's the goal.
That's all right, man. We're already lulling them into it. Let the food help.
Oh, you know what, Reed? Reed, we're gonna need to find a new person. I don't think Ken's allowed on here anymore.
Ken is overstepped. His reach is overextending his grasp.
I know. And you know what the sad part is? This is the first episode. He's already going too far.
The best kind of humor is the self-deprecating humor. Don't worry.
Well, you know what, Ken? Go depreciate yourself. Go depreciate yourself, Ken.
Self-depreciating.
Ken.
But it's good to be here. Glad to be here with you guys talking about some stuff. I know gaming has been depressing lately.
It has been. It's been a very
depressing place.
So for Ken, no, because he's not an investor in gaming. He just buys it when he pleases. But for me, yes, it's been a little bit saddening.
Well, tell me, why has it been saddening for y'all, and I'll tell you why I don't think it has been.
Well, Ken, you know what? Get out! Get out!
I'm just being serious. Why is it saddening?
I had recently read an article where certain BioWare employees were coming out and saying that through the development cycle of Anthem, so much of their work was being routinely just thrown out. Like they would be concepting certain level designs, and the main higher ups would say, "Okay, we have to take out flying. We have to make this game with no flying." And so all these levels that they had designed with jetpacks in mind all got tossed out the window. And then, of course, as we know from the final product, like they came back frantically saying, no, jetpacks are back. Jetpacks are back. Hurry up and get this thing done. And apparently depression and anxiety were so rampant that people were routinely being put on leave for mental health. And, some people were reporting suicidal thoughts. And it just sounded like it was a really horrible place to work. And I think that that's really symptomatic of where AAA gaming is now. All these games as a live service instead of games just being
games
standalone property.
Yeah.
That's also what happens when you decide to get bought out by EA, but that's a whole other issue.
Ken, look. Okay, we're not gonna go jump on the EA hate train. Okay, we all don't. EA, we all know.
believes that Battlefield is a success, so of course.
Okay, well that's their fault. That's not our fault. That's their fault. We're not going to condone idiocracy on this, but
yes, I believe it's sad for what happened to BioWare, but then it's kind of their own fault for
selling sure. Oh no. BioWare is definitely culpable in this, but I also heard that they recently laid off 350 employees in some of their European offices.
Yeah.
So, AAA gaming is doing fine according to a lot of people. So I just think it's disingenuous.
It just depends on the company. Once Activision or EA buys you up, and then they wring you dry, and then they get rid of your company, like Visceral Studios. And
why is it that they keep going to companies that have made once upon a time, BioWare made good games.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's strange to hear in 2019, but yeah, they actually did used to make some good games, and it's sad to see.
And then they made Andromeda.
And then, it's happened with Bungie, it's happened with Bethesda, it's happened with BioWare. Maybe the bees. Maybe it's a problem with being a bee.
Maybe it is.
Blizzard announced Diablo Immortal, and we all know how that went. So yeah, maybe the bees are not doing so hot in 2018, 2019.
One of the biggest things is also that most of those companies, besides Bethesda, they just screwed themselves. Most of them are attached to an owner. Like Activision owns Blizzard, BioWare is owned by EA.
Yeah, and Bungie recently cut ties with theirs, but I do see what you mean. Now Bethesda is a bit of a more unique case because not only does Bethesda publish their own stuff, they have their own in-house game studio, so they don't have the excuse of saying. There's no further up the chain you could send the blame. In other words, you can't say, "Oh, well, it's EA cracking the whip." It's
Bethesda just thinking they know what their fans want.
76 was the best game in the world. What are you talking about?
It's because Bethesda doesn't. I feel like Bethesda just wants to make games, but they don't want to fix their problems with their games. Like
exactly.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, all these rampant bugs, and they shrug their shoulders and say, oh, and they give a cutesy response like, oh, that's just part of our charm. It's like, no, you want the modders to finish your game, like,
right?
you want other people for free to finish your $60 product. That's what this is. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
We all know what the Creation Club is, and the Nexus
we all know the
modders can get together and fix their products. It's so transparent.
That's the worst thing ever. Too. They made the Creation Club, which are mods you have to pay Bethesda to get. So they're having mods that you're paying them to fix their own games.
They're licensing other people's work to make their games
better, and we're paying them for it,
and the consumer is being charged for it. It's so bad. What I'm hoping happens. I hope that voice crack doesn't sound as bad in the recording.
We'll find out.
What I'm hoping happens is that the AAA gaming industry goes through what it went through in the late 80s, where, I mean, obviously E.T. is the famous example where there's just one kind of big last nail in the coffin, if you catch my drift. And but what happened after that? Nintendo came and rose from the ashes of Atari and the big players of the day. Mm-hmm. And we experienced the greatest rebirth and gaming renaissance in history. Mm-hmm. So this isn't a bad thing. I mean, this is just part of going through the progression of the gaming industry, I think. Is you gotta let these big businesses balloon out of control, and then unfortunately there is going to have to be a crash. But then after that, you get some really good AA and independent studios.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And that's usually how it ends up happening, as we've seen in the past. Hopefully, whatever's going on, people figure it out. I mean, it's been a big old fiasco. I did see that article you were talking about, and I watched a couple people who were talking about it as well, and it's very sad.
I mean, could you imagine being someone who's artistic and creative? Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you were a level designer on Anthem. Mm-hmm. And your passion is making locations and putting together concepts and doing all of the, taking this process. I mean, coding a video game is, my God, how much work goes into that. And to have your work just routinely tossed out willy-nilly when, the focus group came back and said, oh, well, it turns out that, the beta testers didn't like the jetpack. Or now would they come back and they actually do miss the jetpack, so put it back in. Could you imagine having all that work being tossed around willy-nilly because of the whims of people like that? It just sounds awful.
Yeah, I work with Jermis. I know that feeling.
Oh, okay. That's you know what, Ken? There's too much salt being thrown right now. I don't appreciate that.
I'm not making hundreds of millions of dollars off this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. You know what? Let me go ahead and get some salt real quick so I can go eat it, because that's what you keep on feeding me right now. Getting on my nerves. How dare you?
Don't worry.
How dare you? I put a crown on your head, and this the thanks I get?
Look, the crown of lies hurts the most, all right? Jesus' poor crown, and it was made of thorns.
In the end, Ken will be the lonely king.
You know what, Ken? Go take your mayonnaise and ketchup and go eat it.
Don't. All right. Speaking of which, now that you brought it up, crafting their new sauces, fancy sauce.
Nobody cares about their new sauces. Get out of here.
Is it literally called fancy sauce?
No, that's the name for what people called it in the past, but now they just made it something different. I'll pull up the actual names.
For all you amazing kids that had this opportunity to love and eat fancy sauce.
First off, you're saying it like it was hard to do. You just stir them together.
Look, when I was younger and I went on a field trip, we went to Burger King. I kid you not, this girl ended up doing the same thing, and I looked at her with this funny face, and I was like, "Why? What are you doing?" And she's like, "What? This is delicious." And I was like, "It doesn't look delicious." She's like, "You want to try it?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely not. I'm not going to try that disgustingness." And she was mixing it, and then she started eating it and looking dead at me. And she's like making love to it. I'm like, "What in the hell are you doing?"
I'm like, "Okay." I've never made love to that before. So
well, she was making love to the sauce, so it must be fancy.
There are 3 different sauces. There's actually 4, I think. So I haven't tried them. When we tried one, some of them don't sound interesting at all. So it's called a fancy sauce. They called it mayo chup.
What?
Mayo chup.
Mayo chup.
CHUP.
Mayo chup.
Mayo chup.
That sounds retarded.
And then they have a barbecue one. It actually is. It's mayonnaise and barbecue sauce mixed together.
Oh,
I don't know about that one.
God.
It's called Mayo Q.
Oh God.
Mayo Q.
Then they have. What in the heck?
Then they got
one with mustard.
You have a mustard one. I see that one. Mayo Must. Mayo Must. That's a great name.
That's
the mayo tart.
Best name I've heard.
No,
God.
It's Mayo Must.
Oh my God. Who would eat that?
And there's a ranch one too.
This is getting worse.
Oh my God. Oh crap.
The ketchup one, I was just like, yeah, whatever. That's I didn't
typical.
do that I didn't do that when I was a kid, so I missed my time with it. But the one with the mustard and the ranch, oh my God.
Ew, mustard and ranch? Are you kidding?
No. Those are separate ones.
That would make me.
Oh, I was about to say. No wonder it's called must.
I'm kind of interested in the Mayo Q. I do want to try like a little bit of it.
Ken, no.
Ken, you disgust me. You know what? We're gonna have you do it live. We're gonna have you do it right in front of our faces, and we're gonna just judge you. We're gonna look at you.
If you give me $20, I will squirt a whole mouthful in my mouth as well.
You need to do what that dude on YouTube does and chug the whole bottle.
No, there you go.
That would be $200.
That's when
$200 for you to chug a bottle.
I don't know about $200. I'd give you $50.
That's a little absurd, Ken. $200.
I'd chip If
I like
Jeremy's
how-
chipped in 50, then you would get 100 total. Like,
All
I
right,
mean,
how
but
about
think,
that?
but wait, how is he gonna start off saying he'll get if for $20 he'll just chug it, and then for
I said a
200
mouthful.
or chug a mouthful, and then $200 he'll just chug the whole bottle. That's inflation right there.
I got a small mouth. Don't worry about it. I did the measurements.
yeah, I mean, if he's
Wait,
got a
wait,
smaller
did-
mouthful, then he's going to have to transport. He's going to have more trips.
Well, first of all, why are you
It's
measuring
like-
your mouth? That's a
it's
question I
like
want
when
to
you're.
know.
It's like when
Don't
you're
worry
bringing
about it.
groceries in.
It was an experiment in college, a
Depending on one
scientific.
day.
College
for-
life?
It was for biology class, not what you're thinking.
Oh
weirdo.
yeah, I'm sure it was for biology class. I'm sure it was that because my biology teacher was like, "Hey, we're gonna need you to measure your mouths for us."
No, your teacher told you to meet him
And
after
then,
class.
and then Mr. and then Mr.
Yeah.
Hutchinson summarily went to jail.
Yep.
Meet
What-
me after class.
Hey
Some
kids,
mouth
I want you to
measurement.
measure your mouthfuls for me.
Ken, was it a man? Was it a man? Was it a man, Ken?
How many milliliters?
We're not
can
talking
you
about
fit
that
in there?
anymore.
No, we're talking about. I want to know.
Subject.
Was it a male biology teacher?
I didn't have a biology teacher. Well, in high school it was a female, so no.
Okay, so why was she? Oh, okay.
No,
King Ken got a little secret.
you know, not every person crowned for royalty was born into the lineage.
He had to earn his way through the lineage. Oh my god, Ken, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know the past. You know what? You take that mayo cue and you eat it. You enjoy it. You enjoy
Mayo
it.
must get it straight.
I'm sorry. Get your mayo must going. Oh god.
Getting to the throne ain't always clean.
Nope, no, not at all. Guys,
Now
don't try these
now
flavors.
Now I pay someone to squirt my mayo must on my food.
Oh god, that just sounds terrible. Guys, don't try this, please. For
Mayo
heavens,
must.
let it be in the past. We are
You
sosificated.
mayo must try this.
Hey, you should reach out to Kraft to see if they'll let you do a commercial. they
10
might,
out of 10.
they
I
might
wouldn't
use
use
that.
this again.
I want nothing to do with that product.
And
I'm
then
sorry.
what they'll do is like, you mayo must get this, and then you have to squirt it in your mouth and be like, mmm.
I can't get behind mayonnaise being mixed with other perfectly fine condiments. I just can't
Ketchup
do
is not fine by itself. First off, ketchup.
No.
is
Ketchup is fine by
it.
itself.
Ketchup is perfectly serviceable for
Mustard,
what it is.
It's mustard it's a very risque. That's what I'll say. It's very risque.
I
Unless
like,
it's,
I like my food risque.
oh well, honey mustard is the best one.
Mm.
What you mean?
I didn't say nothing. I was just clearing my throat.
Uh-huh. That's what you were doing. You've been over here throwing salt today. I gotta be careful. I don't trust your gestures. Godly. That is disgusting. Don't do that. Don't do it. Just if you guys are listening, please don't go out and buy that stuff. Don't support Kraft and his treachery.
Look, I'm not going to be as rude as him. Y'all decide. You know, some people used to make fancy sauce in the day. And
I mean,
I'm
I know
gonna tell you,
people-
it does taste like the authentic stuff. So if you do like it, get it and try it.
What is considered authentic? How is that?
Authentic fancy sauce.
But how is the fancy sauce authentic? You just mixed the two together. That's not authentic.
Yeah, but it tastes exactly like it. They didn't
I don't
add
know.
no additives. You know, nothing.
I
crazy.
don't know if this is
I mean,
fake, but there's
What?
an image of the Xbox, whatever the Xbox 5 is, I guess, and PlayStation 5, and the Xbox controller that's pictured in this image looks just preposterous.
No, I'm pretty sure it's fake.
It's
'cause
probably fake.
They haven't even shown anything about it yet. Microsoft already said they're working on a discless version of the the Xbox One right now.
all right, I'll have to line up and get one.
Oh
Yeah.
my boy, you always doing this. You're joking on me about getting me an AV to HDMI adapter to play my PS2, but you're over there lining up for a discless Xbox One.
Hey, because that's the future. You're in the past. Get on
That's
my
true,
level.
you know.
Get on my level, Ken.
You know what? There's a reason they have a class and every grade that teaches you history, but not future.
Oh, okay. You know what? Here goes the salt again. I'm tired of Ken, man. I'm tired of Ken.
You came at me first. All
I
right?
think
Just to let you know that.
actually
He
you.
said there's a class that teaches you history, but is there a class that teaches you the future?
I was. I'm done.
You
I'm done
can't
with
argue it. It's real.
You can argue it. I'm just not going to.
Mm.
That's how I feel. I'm not going to argue it, but
You always give me the yucks, Ken.
you know what? We're gonna keep cuddle time with Ken. We're keeping it.
Today in future class, did you get an A on your future test?
Let's find out. Let's find out if you got an A in your biology test or not. No, you didn't. Sorry, buddy.
Turn in that future report yet, Ken?
Yeah, I went to get my palm read, and they told me the answers.
I'm your future professor. It's like, what? How does that make sense? Imagine walking into a school and somebody says some crap like that. It'd be very weird.
So I just don't go. I just quit going to the class.
Can you just quit going to school?
But they would already know that because it's in the future.
Oh my god! You just walk out. I knew he was gonna do that. This is the last day we'll see him. That's it. Be gone. Oh my god, Ken, I can't stand you.
All right. Now, is anyone else in here excited about the Vampires the Masquerade's Bloodline 2?
I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it.
Has anyone ever played the first one in here?
No.
The game is called Bloodlines 2?
Yeah, it's called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Oh, no, I have not.
The first one is just called Vampire. It's just no 2 on the first one. It's been out for a while.
Yeah, that one never crossed my path.
No, okay. I never played the original one, but I am excited to see the second one. Or play the second one.
It's based off of a tabletop game.
Oh no! Oh, that's why you're so interested in it.
No, I mean I knew about it before I even knew it was a tabletop. It came out in 2004. The first one.
Just keep talking, Ken. Just keep showing yourself.
Here we go. You can't let things go.
Nope, not at all. But yes, I'm
what about it, Ken?
What? Oh, I'm just interested in it. I don't know.
Oh my god, Ken! I thought you were going somewhere with that.
No, I'm just asking.
You were over here getting us all excited. We thought you were gonna say something.
It turns out that this game actually cures cancer for everyone who.
I know.
All they said about it is that it exists. They don't have a release date. They don't have any pictures, videos, nothing.
They do have video.
Do they have a video?
If you have the Epic launcher, you go look it up. There's a little trailer.
I haven't made an account yet, so don't.
Well, see, that's
why. I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
How long? Well, I guess it's 2 questions. How long do you think the current model of gaming business is feasible? As in, like, and what I mean by that, the games as a live service. Microtransactions, paying over time for incremental content. Like, how long do you think that business model can sustain itself, and what do you think comes after that?
It's hard to say because Apple and Google just released their own type of gaming service, which is a pay for service.
Honestly, I think it's one of those things that
where you have to have Wi-Fi to play. By the way,
yes, yeah. I think honestly, it's one of those things that it's probably gonna be here for a while before it goes down. Because it seems like that's kind of the way everything.
You think we got like 3 to 5 years of this, and then there'll be a crash, and then
because the way everything's being set up now is kind of going towards that direction. Everybody's trying to push live services. Netflix, Hulu. We've already kind of started off with like Hulu, Netflix, Spotify, and people seem to be okay with that. I think. Really, if anything was going to happen, it would have to be the people that make it happen. Because as long as there are people that are willing to spend money for the subscription service, it's not going to technically go away.
I don't think it is.
So
I don't think it's going to go away. I think that's the way things are going for in the future.
Yeah, I think subscription services is kind of the future because we're kind of already in that realm now with
such a depressing place.
They're trying to push games away from physical media. Then how easy is it to switch it to a digital download?
Yeah, but go
ahead.
You got to think like games used to come out and you paid a certain amount for them and you just had the full experience. And now they're saying, hey, buy Battlefield 5, but then you got to buy the season pass, and then you got to buy this, and then you got to buy that. And if you look at like the release graphic for which platforms have which version of the game at which time and which place and which time zone, it's just like, I don't want to do business that way. I want to give you $60 and you give me a game. That's why I'm so surprised by games like God of War and Sekiro and Spider-Man, where I'm like, oh, people are still trying.
Yeah,
I can see Sekiro getting DLC.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah, no, DLC for sure, which I will pay for because that company released a full and complete game experience at launch.
Mhm.
And you know, I had like one loading screen on the PS4, and then nothing after that. And I've been having nothing but a good time with that game. The one problem that I have with Sekiro, I suppose, if we're talking about it, is that certain bosses are not actually harder. It's just that they give you more enemies to fight during the boss fight. That's the one main
Yeah, I
criticism
can
that I
understand that.
found is like, okay, the boss that I'm fighting is difficult, sure, moderately to whatever extent, but then you throw 9 other NPC fodder enemies at me, and it's like you're not making the boss fight harder. You're just throwing more things at me. You know?
But then that game, though, a game about that, the way to play it is the parry and perfect parry and the run away
Exactly.
and pick people off. That is a way
Sure,
of increasing
sure.
the difficulty in that game because
Yeah.
that's you can't if you're trying to parry the small people, you can't parry the big guy or the other way around.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Well,
literally
what you find is that the game rewards stealth. So you go in, you stealth kill a couple of dudes, you pick them off, and if you raise the alarm, it's all good. Run away, repeat,
Mhm.
and you'll eventually get down to the main boss. Like that's my whole thing about. That was the hardest boss for me to fight in Dark Souls 1 is Ornstein and Smo.
Mhm.
It's 2 really, really, really strong enemies, and they're both coming at you at the same time. And if you don't have anybody to summon on your side, you're good luck. You know, you're really in for it. So
and
that's something that they've done before, but I'm really enjoying my time with the game overall.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say that people need, I think, and personally, people need to stop comparing this game to Dark Souls because it's not a Dark Souls game.
No, it's
Think of it.
no.
Think of it. It's definitely like its original. What they based it off of was Tenchu, and I feel like it's a Tenchu and Onimusha game mixed together more so than anything Dark Souls.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, Dark
Well,
Souls.
I always, yeah. I mean, a new player who's new to the franchise is probably going to have an easier time than a veteran because you don't have all those instincts to unlearn.
Yeah, this does not play like a Dark Souls game. Like you don't
It
dodge.
doesn't.
You're not meant to dodge stuff. You're meant to
Nope.
parry it, and you are meant to do stealth, and you're meant to do everything. Like so, anyone who goes in there thinking
the
it's a
game
Dark Souls game, you're
punishes
going to die a
you.
lot.
Yeah, the game punishes you for playing like Dark Souls. It really does. The game punishes you a lot. So I'm really enjoying it. The art style is great. The music has actually been breathtaking at a couple of points. I've had moments where I've been in an area, particularly in Senpo Temple, where I'll sort of take a moment after in between the fighting to look around and just appreciate the art direction and whatnot. Like you can really see the love that went into it. And Miyazaki, the guy who directed almost all of these games, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, you can really see his hand in the level design because what he likes to do is have a lot of folding paths that sort of connect back to one another via shortcuts and elevators, and you know the levels sort of stack on top of each other, if you will, in really interesting and cool ways that can surprise you, and it's a really, really fun experience. But if you are a Dark Souls player and you're going to pick up that game, do not play it like Dark Souls. You will be thoroughly punished for playing that game like any Souls.
I'm getting a nice
But it was the
surprise.
same way with Bloodborne. Bloodborne punished you for playing like Dark Souls as well.
Yeah, understandable.
But
going back to
go ahead.
I was saying, going back to what you were saying though about the live service read, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of games are pretty much it's kind of, I'm gonna compare this to how The Sims is, because The Sims to me represents this very well. You pay a certain price for a base game. The base game has content in it. It's not a lot, and it's not anything that would keep you coming back, but it's something you may enjoy. Then down the road, you would have, packs or DLC or expansion packs, stuff packs, something like that. Of course, with the Sims, you have to pay for your expansion packs, your stuff packs. But like, for example, Anthem, you've got your base game, and then you have, of course, have your end game, like with Anthem, like with the Division 2. And then afterwards, once you're done, you go through the main story. You may have some content after the end game. And then after that, then they add more stuff down the road. So it seems like it's really more so they're doing it, of course, for the money. So the idea is that down the road, you're going to keep spending money and keep coming back to the game because they're going to keep adding something new. If they did it where, like they used to, where we give you a completely full, amazing game and then we do DLC down the road, they may make money, but it's not as much money as they would make if they do it as a live service. Right. Now I'm okay with the idea of live service. I do believe that the market is very saturated with live services. That and battle royale games are really big right now. Everybody's doing almost everybody's doing a battle royale. Almost everybody's doing a live service.
The two aren't always mutually exclusive, by the way.
Right. Yeah. So it's a model that for people like us who just want to get in and enjoy the game, it sucks. There are some games that I think do live service and some games that do battle royale very well, but because they now know that you can make a crap ton of money off of doing a live service or doing these battle royale games and just releasing passes and characters down the road, now because you want to make money, they're going to start doing that now. So that's where, to me, I think live service is not going to go away because you are easily able to make money and it keeps people coming back to it, versus if you buy the game, you're done, and you're not going to come back to that game. And for some people, for some game developers, they may have made money off of it, but not a lot to sustain them. Versus live service, because you're always adding content and you're always adding stuff, you're always going to keep making money off of that game. And because you're going to have your microtransactions within those games, you're always going to have people that are going to constantly spend money. So it's almost like you're getting almost an infinite supply of money to be able to fund whatever it is you want to do. So pretty much most game developers probably have a good idea of what future content they want to provide for a lot of their games that are live services, but they spread it out so that you end up paying for that season pass, so you may pay for that extra DLC, and then along the way, as you're paying for those, you're also buying the cosmetics that they have in the store as well. So you're always spending money in that particular game.
Oh, it's undoubtedly a good business model.
Yeah, so it's a business model that right now is working. And like I said, it's really up to us because we're the ones that buy into these services. We're the ones that buy these games. If people decided that they if people really didn't care or really cared about what was going on and they wanted to change it, it's very easy, or not. It's not easy, but there are ways to change that. You can stop supporting games and stop buying it, but there's always going to be people out there who buy these games. There's always going to be a market for for somebody, and because of that reason, it's not enough to keep people from saying, okay, let's start going back to how we did things, where we just release a full game and then give you the content. Because if they release a full live service game, so let's say Anthem did come out with an amazing start, but they didn't have any content for it afterwards, people would eventually stop playing Anthem. Now they're not a lot of people are playing Anthem now because of the problems that it has, but if it started off really strong and had all this content and everybody got to the content and after that there was nothing else because they said, okay, we're not going to release content until next year, what ends up happening? People end up starting to forget about the game until there's new content. Now people come back to the game. Versus, well, we'll start them off with enough content for them to have something to do, and then we release it down the road.
I think there might be a happy medium in between that. Live services and releasing the full product. The in-between is this. Rockstar Games releases GTA 5. And then each subsequent update gives out content, pretty big, substantial amounts of content as well, completely for free. Anyone who purchased the base game has that right. And they basically say, yeah, all the content that's going to be coming out for the game after release, that's on us. Here's, just keep playing our game. Keep telling people about our game. And obviously Rockstar is sort of in a league of its own. We all get that. But if they could set that precedent, I think that's a good way to go. One of the things that's always been true for me is that, at least with like the From Software games, to go back to those, I'm always willing to buy the DLC for those games, no matter what they're priced. I've bought the DLC for every game that they've put out in the last 6 years. And I do think that you're right, Jeremis. I think that live service, and Ken, you are right as well. Live services are going to be here for the foreseeable future. It's just the way the business is going to be done for a lot of these games, because the reality is that you can spend a lot less time developing and a lot more time marketing and making money. And
and kind of develop along the way. Like, okay,
Sure.
now that people are buying our game, we're gonna start actually continuing making that content. So it's one of those things. They don't have to put a lot of time into the game. They're of course, it's going to take some time to develop the game, make the game, but they don't have to put a lot of time into the game because they know that, down the road, they're just going to release this content that are going to keep people coming back, whether it's free or paid.
And it seems like that's, I look at that and I think that's pretty cynical. It's like,
oh yeah,
it seems it's business over art straight up, which, I mean, that happens, but I think I'm actually a little bit more optimistic than that. I think that the market is going to eventually stabilize where the people, and I'm not saying anything about any group of people here, but like just to use an example, the kids that play Fortnite that get their parents to buy V-Bucks, like those types of customers are going to sustain this industry for a long time. That's just the reality. And I think that those are always going to be there. So I think you guys are right. But I also think that there's going to be a segment of the market that sort of patronizes other studios like CD Projekt Red, like Santa Monica, Sony, like FromSoft, that delivers these single player experiences that are a full game where you get the value of your money for what you initially buy, which is all I've ever been arguing for. But I think that it's going to be around for a while. These live services are going to be around for some time.
Oh yeah, it'll be around for a while, and at some point it'll, it may die down, and then we may go back to how it was before, where we're getting games that are quality, that when you pay $60, you're getting $60 worth of a game, and there's not all these problems or there's not issues. A game comes out, the way it's supposed to be, because everybody's rushing games out to try to make money during different quarters. And because of that, developers are being pushed to hurry up, get this game going, which has ended up causing, stress, depression, things like that.
Right.
But instead of just taking time with it, if it's not ready, it's not ready.
I'm not so certain that Fallout 76 is the ET of our generation. Like Fallout 76 was such an explosive, well-documented, well-studied failure that, I mean, look, it's almost like somebody wrote this for a movie, but it is just how it is in real life. Like the game comes out $60, it's absolutely unplayable. They have to cut the price in half because it won't sell as much. So other people are getting it for $35. So you piss off the people who bought it for full price. Hold that. You release all of these extra items like the canvas bag instead of, or the nylon bag instead of a canvas bag. The fucking, I'm sorry. I let that one slip, Jeremy. I do apologize.
You're fine.
The daggone Nuka-Cola liquor scandal thing. Just one thing right after the other, and have the publisher commit suicide so quickly. So readily too, like they were so excited to jump on their own sword, and I mean Fallout 76 is completely symptomatic of all of this. It's designed to be a game that's played over time, over months, perhaps years, with continual updates to to the content and whatnot, presumably being paid for, and then all the microtransactions. Yeah, give us $5 and we'll give you a new skin for your Pit-Boy. I mean, that game was everything that's wrong with gaming right now, just compressed into one singular thing.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure if that's the ET of our generation or not. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I think it. I wouldn't say it is. I don't think it is.
What do you think, Ken?
It just depends. I mean, how what they're going to do from now on with it at this point. I mean, they are actually starting to have DLC,
content
DLC,
for
but
it.
like extra content put into it now finally. And
do you think this is going to carry forward to Starfield and Elder Scrolls?
Well, as long as it's not going to be like a online experience, it shouldn't be. I wouldn't think.
No, I don't think Elder Scrolls will be, but Starfield. I mean, no one really knows. Like,
right?
Starfield probably. I mean, I would imagine probably would be.
It depends. I'll have to see more about it first before I decide that. And all
that's a little far out, I suppose.
Yeah, because all they did was show just the title card and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, all these major studios that are just making these giant blunders is, ironically, to me, it's actually reassuring because it means that it's happening a little bit faster than it might have otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these really public failures are actually good for business overall. You know what I mean? Like we might have to bite the bullet here and be like, oh, well, we got a crap game, but in the end, it's going to be like, well, we won't do that again.
Right.
Very true.
Hopefully, it'll lead to better things.
I mean, I'm sure it will. I mean, as we can see, there's been a lot of game developers right now that have made some serious mistakes, and they're now realizing, dang, we shouldn't have did that, and now are starting to, focus on trying to actually get the games where they should have been when they first launched. So, like I said, it's like, No Man's Sky, it was too hyped, then came out, didn't do as hot, had a lot of issues, and now the game is pretty good.
Yeah,
so
No Man's Sky was also the fans' fault. They overhyped it themselves.
They did, yeah, of course.
Now I have to humbly, I agree and disagree with that. The developer of that game misled fans, though.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. Like, if you listen to interviews, they were like, can you bump into other players? And he was like, oh, yeah, definitely. What he failed to mention was your statistical likelihood of running into another player is almost nothing. And at the beginning, at least when the game launched, he had no player peer-to-peer matchmaking sort of system in place. He had nothing in place to match you with your friends, in other words.
Right.
So the whole I understand you on certain things, Ken. You're right. The fans did overhype it into absolute oblivion, far beyond what he intended. Still worked out for him though, so you can only give him so much slack. But yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these big promises, a lot of these big marketing decisions, they're just not I don't think they're sustainable.
Right.
Well, I have to see what happens down road in the future.
Definitely.
But there was one thing. It's actually very interesting because I almost forgot about it. But this is actually going into a completely different direction. So, get your thinking caps on because this is going to drop. I'm dropping some bombs here. All right. So I'm sure, have we all watched Death Note here?
A while back. Yeah.
I have actually never seen it.
Okay, well,
you're
Reed,
supposed to be our anime expert.
I know, Reed. I'm gonna have to.
I know quite a bit about it.
Okay, good. So yeah, for those of you guys who are listening to us and that don't know Death Note, please go watch it. It's a really good anime. But there is going to be spoilers from here on out. Maybe not too many. I don't know. We'll see. But I am going to be talking about some things in there. But it's kind of, I want to say, I believe this falls into the category of more so ethical. So for those of you, of course, people who watch Death Note, we all know what the show is about. Now, it was very interesting because I was talking to my fiance. We decided to start watching it recently just because we enjoy the anime very much, and we decided to start watching it. And it was kind of interesting, the question that she brought up, and it was towards light. And the question she was asking was, well, she asked me was, what do I think what he was doing was necessarily wrong? And it's an interesting question because, he at the beginning, his whole thing was to punish people who were criminals, and his thing was to punish them. And he felt that if he could get rid of the criminals, he could create a very just world. Of course, as we see down the road, he didn't just start killing criminals. Other people got involved as well who got in his way of trying to create this perfect world. And it was very interesting that she asked that question because, at the beginning, like just kind of taking to the point of him just necessarily killing criminals, not, killing every, other like FBI agencies like that, but just really the criminals, was it really wrong of him to do? And if so, why was that? But the reason why I thought it was interesting was because, of course, the obvious answer for a lot of people would be, well, yeah, it's wrong. You can't kill another human being, even if he is a criminal, but again, it kind of makes you think again, is it, so wrong? And I think that's where, to me, it kind of hits that ethical point of, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys too, of, what do you guys think? The point where he was killing criminals, he believed in, getting rid of them to create a just world. How necessarily was it necessarily wrong for him to do that? Was it wrong for him to want to have a world where, it was full of good people?
You're really tossing down the gauntlet for us, aren't you?
I'm putting down the thinking cap here. So
I was about to say, this really is off the top.
Yeah, this is
giant moral conundrum.
This is one that it's very, because I wouldn't say there's a wrong answer towards this question, because in a sense, as a society, we have placed, rules and morals upon each other. We have created our system, that we have now. And in our system, even though you may in your head think it's not necessarily wrong for him to want to get rid of the criminals, like people who murdered, who raped, things like that. In our minds, you say, oh, well, it's not that bad. But then it's like, well, you're killing another human, so yes, it's wrong to kill another human.
What do you have to say to that, Ken?
Yes, go ahead, Ken.
So the question you got to ask yourself is it right to have one man be the person who can make these choices? Now, yes, he wants to create a just world, but, based on what happens later on, he's killing people who get in his way and stuff like that. Is he really doing it just to make a just world, or is he doing it to make a world that he wants to, be in control of? Is it control he's really looking for, or is it really good intentions?
See, watching the anime, it doesn't really seem like he wants necessarily control, but I think what happens is that he gets obsessed with the power.
Exactly.
Yeah, but even still, his mindset is not, I want to rule this world. Well, no, actually, I don't remember. I have to relook at it, but I don't remember if he said he wanted to control the world, but he wanted to create.
You don't need to say it, though. If you're the one who can make these choices to get rid of who you want, though, that in turn means by your actions that you are controlling how this world, the outcome is. Now, do you think one single human deserves the right to have the power to decide who lives and dies? That's why.
But then again, even if you have is it fair for other people to have a say in who lives and who dies?
Well, think of it this way: most cases that involve an outcome where you're either going to be put to death or life or something like that, they have a jury involved.
Yeah, it's more than one.
But again, even
it's a representation of society coming together and deciding, kind of.
Now, there's one person who will decide, like, do you have to pay this guy back for destroying his property or stealing? That's fine. But do you have, as one single person who your own personal beliefs are deciding if I die or live, do you have the right to do that? I don't think so. You should not have one person who decides this without any checks or balances from another person who, maybe, in your head, yes, he did something terrible. He was negligent, ran a light, hit a car, killed a whole family. Yes, he was negligent, and you want him to die. Now, it was a terrible mistake, but he did not mean to do this. Does that mean he has to die for something? He should definitely be punished severely for it, but killing him just for an accident does not make anything better.
Do we have one person who gets to decide whether he did? Like, I'm actually going to pretty much give it to Ken. Like, Ken said everything that I was pretty much going to say. So, it comes down to, like, if we have, this is one of the main problems that I've always had because I love Batman so much, and as I've grown older, I've had to morally kind of wrestle with my love for Batman as a character, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, Batman does good, air quotes, he does good. Mm-hmm. It's like, but you're right, Ken. How he's not elected, so he is just taking all of the. Now, Batman doesn't even kill people, so you don't have that. You don't have that argument, I suppose. But he is going outside of the law and outside of society, essentially society's choice to bring these people in. And I think Light from Death Note is similar. It's like, yeah, he starts off killing these criminals, and it's all well and good because all the air quotes right people are dying. But once again, how is, he's not accountable for any of that. We can't hold him to a standard. It's very, that's a very, very dark road.
that's basically when the judicial system takes over all the government, essentially.
Yeah.
But
So that's a dangerous situation.
Now-
But well said, Ken. Well said, sir.
now when it comes like the Batman and people like that, though, I think it's fine for there to be a vigilante who can stop people and, you know, not necessarily bring out the punishment of the justice, but bring them to justice.
Well, is that Batman is breaking the law, and
Yes.
in many scenarios he's destroying people's bodies. Like,
Right.
that's one thing about Batman that people think is it sort of takes away some of his teeth, and I disagree. Like, they're like,
Mhm.
oh well, Batman doesn't kill. He's soft or what blah blah blah. And I'm like, no. That almost makes it worse because Batman will paralyze you from the neck down and leave you like that for the rest of your life. He'll leave you. He'll be like, yep, you were a criminal and I broke your back, and oh, it sucks that you're going to be in a hospital bed for the rest of your life.
It's like, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, buddy.
Sucks to suck.
That's Batman specific. There are other heroes that don't do that to people, though.
Sure. But he, like, come on, Ken. He wrecks people.
I'm
And-
not talking about Batman specifically. I just say because that's the example you gave. Vigilantes, I'm okay with, though. Like, as long as they're just bringing them to justice, not necessarily
So
dealing
it's
punishment.
it's more so you know,
He does not have the ability
if they're not killing them, it's okay.
As long as they're bringing it to justice for
okay.
the society.
He's saying
decides.
as long as the perpetrator is deposited in the hands of law enforcement at the end.
So
of
pretty
it.
much,
So-
if you're working alongside with the law to bring a person to justice,
Well, then you wouldn't be a vigilante, though.
Yeah, not necessarily has to work with the law, but he's not the one that's going to be deciding what type of punishment this person gets in the end and like killing them or that.
So
He
you're
brings
saying
someone to
so
justice.
you're saying that the fact that Light and any other character like him
Mhm.
are pretty much judge, jury, and executioner. Like they are all of those. They're
That's too
the
much in my
adjudicating.
opinion.
They're the adjudicating. So that's where you draw the line, though. That's what
Yes, I draw the line at they are the end all of what
they
are
adjudicate the
deciding what
sentence.
happens to this person.
They
completely.
sentence and destroy.
Now if like I said, a vigilante sees someone and obviously they are breaking the law, but the police themselves cannot bring him forward. The vigilante brings him forward, but does not deal the judgment or for his crimes, and society still does that. That's fine in my opinion.
okay.
I see. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know where you're.
Yeah,
So
that's where I see it.
It
Because
does come down to
no single man should be allowed to decide what happens to your life and your fate, but someone bringing you towards the people who can make that decision is not necessarily wrong in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna play opposite, you know, because the question would then be, well, who then can decide who lives or dies, you know, because of course
Mhm.
we live in a society where we have, you know, the judicial system where we
Mhm.
have a group of, you know, we have a jury that decides on whether the
Mm-hmm.
person's guilty or innocent, and then of course the judge rules in, you know, whatever the decision is. So even with the fact that we have a judicial system, the one person may ask, well, who are they to decide, to necessarily decide? Because, you know, we don't know, you know,
Mhm.
if any one of them could down the road be in the same predicament as
sure.
one person. So
Well,
who are they
the-
to end up deciding
The
that?
answer that I would offer to that would be that, unfortunately, since we're all human, there's no better way. I know that that's not a great answer, but the fact is that in an ideal world, the justice system, what is justice represented by? A blindfolded woman with a sword and a set of scales.
Mhm.
So when you have a jury of your peers that come together to sentence someone, essentially, and figure out how to mete out whatever punishment the law provides for the crime, the idea behind that is we're going to take, most of the time, obviously, we're going to take random people that have no connection to one another and no connection to the perpetrator or the judge or whoever. They're just a completely independent third party. And what that is supposed to represent is a sample of society, air quotes, the
Right.
general society. And then they decide on what happens. Now, you could say that that's mob mentality, and perhaps it is. Maybe it's a formalized version of mob mentality, and I would answer, well, what's better than that? What is there that we have at our disposal that is better than us, humanely as possible, deciding what the punishment is and agreeing on it as a group? I don't see whatever the alternative is.
Oh no, I understand that. You know, and I mean, of course, I would agree as well. You know, as right now, I can't think of anything either. I'm sure there are some people who will listen to us. They may have an idea of what could be, you know, better than that. Who knows?
If you have an idea that's better than that, please tell the rest.
Yeah, you know,
move forward together. But
let us know.
You're going to be looking for a while.
You know, I just figured, you know, to bring.
The only thing I could see that was better than that, which is something that really can't be done now, is if they have maybe AI who could take emotion out of the decision.
That is okay. That's something.
That's scary though.
That is very scary.
It is scary, but you know, a lot of people also let emotion decide what should happen.
Sure.
If they,
that's true, because if you do, I mean, I can see how emotion definitely takes a play in that. I mean,
oh god, but then you have a very, very disturbing argument where it's like, is it justice because it's humans saying it? Which I guess it is, but doesn't that mean that it should be done by human hands?
The system itself was created by human hands, meaning that we all decided that the way it should be done.
No, but I get that, but I'm saying, like, shouldn't, by that logic, since we're the ones who make our own justice, you hear that sometimes. It's like there is no real justice in the universe except for what we make. Mm-hmm. If that's true, I don't particularly care for the idea of having an make that decision. Because then it's taking something that's a human construct and the consequences of that construct are now out of human hands. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that.
What do you think, Ken? You think that would be a good idea to have an AI as a replacement for a judicial system? To take that out of the equation?
Well, not the whole system, no.
Not the whole system, but you know, in certain parts of the judicial system, would that be a good idea?
I see where you're coming from, Ken. An AI is dispassionate. They can't form attachment to any element of the case or any part of whatever is involved. They can't do that. Mm-hmm. But and justice is supposed to be blind. That's one of the supposed to be one of the perks of our way of life. But
then another question,
scary,
another interesting question would be is because you know, of course, we created, you know, the system that we have in place, and one of the big things is that sometimes in our decision. When we're, you know, determining whether a person is guilty or not, there are times, and I don't know the percentage or how big it is, but there are times where as humans, we've made mistakes and put people who didn't do the crime in jail because of it.
Sure.
So, you know, necessarily to counteract that, I mean, not, you know, of course, I'm not saying, AI all the way, but, you know, an AI, because, you know, the way it's going to work is different. I would be curious to see how many mistakes that would make, or if it makes mistakes at all, and accurately being able to know if this person is guilty or not, versus, you know, us being able to do that, you know, because of course, as, you know, humans, our biggest thing is we want the freedom and the freedom to decide. We don't want nothing or no other individual to decide that for us, or, you know, like an AI to decide that for us. And that's kind of our fear, you know, with that AI. And I can understand why, of course, you're not, the idea of having a artificial being come in and make these decisions is kind of, I don't know about that. But there are times where that maybe an AI would be able to do a better job at it than what we would be able to do, because of the fact that there are other factors that take place besides just the facts. You know, if you have a woman that goes that is being accused of murder, but she's pregnant, and there's a jury of women, one of the women may feel bad because she's pregnant and they don't want to see her go to jail.
Sure.
And therefore that emotion kicks in, because now, she has the facts, but because it's a pregnant woman, she now does not want her to go to jail because that baby will now grow without a mom. So now that emotion takes him in that place, and now she's saying, I believe she's not guilty because of that. She may necessarily believe, and a side of her may believe, she may be guilty, but she's letting that emotion, instead of just pure facts and the evidence that's being presented, determine whether or not she should go to jail. So I would be curious to see if an AI could do that same thing, and to see, you know, if there would be a difference between how accurately they can determine whether or not
once they take that emotional element out of it.
Yeah, because emotion definitely does run. Like if you have a man or a grown man who was being accused for raping a little girl, the whole jury may put that emotion in. Oh, he just raped a child. That immediately is going to make him guilty, even though the evidence could show that he's actually not the one that did anything. But because of what it's stating, that could be, the factor of emotion taking into play.
Well, the way I see that, though, when it comes to, serving justice to the wrong person, that's not more along the sides of the jury and stuff. That's more on the, police, FBI, whatever, who are supposed to find the criminal first and then bring them to that point. That's not really up to them, I would say. That's more of another issue for the ones who are, finding the criminal and bringing them forward.
I mean, yes, it is up to, of course, the first people that, are the police, but then it goes out of their hands now into the jury, and now the jury has to determine if this person is guilty or innocent. So even though it necessarily maybe it should be the job of the officer or the police who were involved in the case, the jury at the end of the day still decides whether or not that person goes to jail or not. So at the end of the day, the jury may not be the people that started, but they are the ones that finish it, kind of, in a sense, So I mean, like I said, it's one of those things that it's a very, very
that one is tough.
It's a tough one. It's very interesting, because there's a lot of different ways and paths that can necessarily go.
Because I come back to the fact that it's human society, right?
Right.
We've all sort of non-verbally decided to exist in the same locations. And part of that is that when someone does something wrong and we decide what punishment is suitable for it, that the judgment is carried out by your fellow humans. That's part of it's. I don't think that's written anywhere per se, but it's sort of implied, if nothing else. And one of the things that scares me is that whatever ends up happening with AI, there's no way, like, humans are just it's gonna be out of our hands, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter how you try to make it work to where there would be no problems.
And all of the social media, all of the YouTube videos that we read, all the posts we make, all the messages we send, we're programming it. Mm-hmm. We're literally we're teaching the AI right now with this conversation.
Yeah, very true.
And it'll never make mistakes. It'll never forget. It's just, I don't know, man.
It's definitely a very scary thought.
Crazy.
It's a very, very scary idea to think of.
It doesn't have to sleep. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get annoyed.
It's strong.
It just keeps going.
It's the Energizer Bunny, guys. We found the Energizer Bunny.
It's the same way when I'd seen a video from Boston Dynamics about their robots, the ones that they make that look kind of like dogs. That can, like, you can kick it over and it'll get back up and get on its feet and jump around and stuff. And me and my dad were talking, and we were thinking, if they ever figure out how to get these things to shoot a gun, it'll be over. Because seriously, like, think about it.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
Like a robot, I know in movies and stuff they make it seem like robots can't shoot, but in real life, a robot is not going to miss you.
No.
In real life, if a robot aims a gun at you, you're getting shot. That's it. It doesn't make mistakes. It can account for recoil. It can, you know what I mean? It can position itself right. It's it's scary, man.
It can't account for illogical thoughts and actions.
Right, yeah.
Sure, yeah, you could probably pull a fast there, but I'm saying overall, we're screwed.
Well, first, and robots don't need triggers to use guns. They just gotta have the ability to hook up.
Yeah. They send the binary code to say shoot, and then you're shooting.
Bunch of real dead shots going around.
You can make their electrical signals go faster than the human brain can send the synapses to your finger to pull the trigger, and everything else. And you're right. Robots don't panic. They don't get hungry. They don't get scared. They don't. They don't have to go to the bathroom. They don't. There's a million things that.
It depends if they start programming emotion into them.
That's true.
What I'm really afraid of is
it could. What if like the droid becomes human? It could develop emotions. out of the blue.
Well,
Even though they're not actual emotions, they're simulated.
All that has to happen is they get to the point where they can self-replicate, and self-awareness is only like 1 or 2 steps away from that. And once they become self-aware and they can sort of modify and change themselves, I mean, what do you need humans for?
Dang, that is true.
Depends what they
When
think.
you can,
Oh no,
when you can
Ken,
manufacture,
we're not gonna have any more Kens rolling around being salty.
and it's like Ultron, where you destroy one robot and the other one. What did you think you were doing by destroying that? You did nothing. I'm here. I'm there. I'm everywhere.
True.
I'm in the internet. I'm in the airwaves. You can't kill me.
Yeah.
It just depends. What does a robot? What does it decide to see it as? See everything as once it gets to that point.
I had heard arguments that said that best case scenario, this is like everything going right. In the next 100 to 250 years, humans will begin to merge cybernetically with machines. We'll start replacing our internal organs with biomechanics. Like we'll replace with actual like component piece organs, and extend our lifespans that way. We'll begin using interfaces with our brains to upload information, so that essentially, as far as I can tell, every human could just have the collective knowledge of humanity uploaded into their head. It's going to get to that point. So, I mean, best case scenario, we just become.
Do we invent the machines in AI, or do we just become the machines?
Or
maybe
both.
it's both. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
it's
I'm saying we're both.
Maybe we create them. The AI says, we have.
Yeah, or AI says, "Become us or die."
Well, yeah, become us or die, and then we just have them.
True.
Because what else are we going to do? And but no, the best case scenario is that the AI recognizes that there's 8 billion organisms that can assist it living on this celestial body, and because they're going to know everything about space, obviously, and they're going to figure, all right, well, if we're stuck on this rock for now, we might as well use these 8 billion monkeys as a useful labor force. So let's go ahead and modify them to the point where they could be useful to us. And then it's like, hey, I mean, come on, like if the AI is superior to us, don't we want the superior life form to be able to spread throughout the universe? And if we get to be a part of it, then I mean, yeah, we're a part of it. It's us now.
Maybe the AI will just see us as a pet.
Yeah, we're gonna get carried. If this was a game of Apex,
Oh yeah, we'd be carried hard.
the AI is the two actual players on the squad, and we're just gonna be the third string rando who gets carried to the dub.
Oh yeah. I think so. But yeah, that was very interesting. I think that should be something we continue into the next podcast.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
That's something that I would like to touch more.
AI
on.
is a very, and I can I can look up some articles and sink my teeth into some really interesting stuff before
like
absolutely
just be like Cyberpunk 2077 future.
The future's here.
How cool would it be if you got stabbed and then your buddy was like, "Oh no, you're stabbed," and then you're like, "Hey, it's all good, man." And you go down to the hospital and you're like, "Yeah, I'd like to exchange this kidney module out for a new one."
They probably wouldn't even have to do that if you got stabbed. They probably would have something you could like spray on skin.
Oh yeah. What is that? That self-replicating spray that Iron Man sprayed on his ribcage in Iron Man 3. Yeah.
But guys, we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast here. We hope you guys enjoyed that. That was definitely enjoyed. We got some good topics going on.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You better have Ken.
What does that mean?
I'm joking. I'm just kidding. But because we gotta let Ken go because he's got better things to do than to hang out with his people.
He's gonna go gargle mayonnaise mixed with ranch dressing.
For $20, yes.
There you go. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the very first episode of Off the Top. Like I said, we hope you guys enjoy it. We are going to be uploading this onto YouTube, and also I'm going to try to upload it today over on Spotify and Google Podcasts. So make sure, of course, you guys are subscribed over to the YouTube channel, so that way you guys can at least see the video portion, even though it's just a picture of us, so there's no video, but you know what I mean. But we definitely appreciate it. Look forward to the next podcast, and you know, if you guys do watch it over on YouTube, let us know your thoughts on the topics that we have discussed, especially the one going on to about with the ethical question. Let us know what you guys think, and if you guys have any counter arguments to that, definitely let us know. We love to hear.
I
from
like
you guys.
the ethical questions segment of this. I'll be honest. I enjoyed the gaming stuff too, but like I think that's one of the perks of being on the Off the Top podcast.
Absolutely.
You were like, hey, what's the moral? You know, what's your moral stance on Light as a character? It's like that's an actual, legitimately fascinating question.
Exactly.
So,
and see,
I enjoyed that.
And that's why we have these episodes, because everything we do is off the top of our heads. Like I said, this is not going to be a informational podcast. We're not here to give you guys news or, you know, things like that. We're just, you know, guys, you know, finding current events, and we just talk about it, give our thoughts and opinions on it. So of course what we say are our own opinions. They are not created. They're, you know, nothing like that. It's what we think. So again, just to give you guys a heads up so you guys are aware of that, you know, this is just us giving our opinions on things that we enjoy talking about. And, you know, any topic, you know, is of course open. Of course, there are some topics we'll stay away from just because we don't want to cause a lot of controversy. But, you know, who knows? Maybe Ken will stop throwing salt on people, and we'll finally.
I only throw sugar.
Oh, sugar. Okay, so it was sweet. Okay, I enjoyed that. But until next time, guys, thank you guys again for joining us on Off the Top.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, y'all.
See you next time.